The film begins by showing a brief fight scene between a woman named Riley and a thug, and the winner of the fight is Riley. Next, the scene shows the bustling condition of a city that becomes Riley's hideout. Very carefully, Riley gets into a car that serves as her home. Riley is seen treating and stitching a severe wound on her thigh by herself. Inside the car, Riley opens a food package featuring a picture of a mother and child. This reminds Riley of her past memories when she was living a normal life. Next, the scene takes us back to Riley's past, where she is with her little daughter named Carly. Not far from where they are, there is a mother and child who disturb the peace of Riley's family. The woman is Peg, the parent of Carly's school friend. After that, they go to the workplace of Chris, who is Carly's father and Riley's husband. With a happy face, Chris immediately welcomes his little daughter by picking her up and hugging her, followed by Riley, who gives Chris the task of preparing their daughter's birthday party because Riley herself is already late for work. Chris gladly accepts his wife's order. Upon arriving at the office, Riley is saddened because she has to finish her work, which means Riley has to work overtime on her daughter's birthday. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Chris is seen discussing with his friend named Mickey. Mickey seems to be offering a business plan or venture that has high risks, but it seems Chris is not too tempted, even though Mickey keeps persuading him. Later that night, Riley arrives home. Riley's face changes immediately when she sees that none of Carly's friends are at the party. With a sad face, Carly answers her mother's question that none of her friends came to her party. This was caused by Peg, who invited all her daughter's classmates to come to her daughter's party. Riley then has an idea to make Carly not sad anymore. With a calm demeanor and gentle manner, Riley invites Carly to celebrate her birthday by eating pizza outside and playing at the carnival, just the three of them. Carly's face instantly changes to happiness. An enthusiastic Carly gets ready to go celebrate her birthday. With a heartfelt feeling, Riley and Chris hug and strengthen each other to live a better life so as not to be looked down upon by others, including Peg's wealthy family. Before going to the festival, Chris contacts Mickey, leaving a voice message that Chris will not come and will not join the business Mickey is running because the risks are not worth it and are too dangerous. Without realizing it, Chris was being watched by a member of the drug mafia gang named Cortez. It turns out that Mickey had been caught by Diego Garcia's drug mafia gang. Mickey was beaten up because he was caught stealing. Then Diego received a call from Cortez, who gave information about his surveillance of Chris's family, which led to an order from Diego that Cortez had to kill them all. After hanging up the phone, Diego immediately killed Mickey. Meanwhile, elsewhere, happiness filled Riley's small family as they enjoyed their time at the festival by trying out several rides and tasting the ice cream at the festival. Until one moment, a terrible event befell Riley's family. Without them realizing it, they were being watched by the drug mafia gang members. The gang members, with preparation, followed Chris and Carly from inside the car and then brutally shot and killed Chris and Carly. At the time of the incident, Riley was not with her husband and daughter because she had gone back to the ice cream place to get some tissue. Riley was shocked to see her husband and daughter being shot. She immediately ran towards her loved ones, and Riley was also shot, but not fatally. As a result of the incident, Riley suffered a severe brain hemorrhage and had to be treated in the hospital as she fell into a coma. The police rescue team then arrived at the scene. There was also a detective named Stan Carmichael. In short, Riley woke up from her coma. Riley overheard a conversation between Detective Stan Carmichael and a doctor. Without much ado, Detective Stan informed Riley about the case causing her husband and daughter's death. He said that her husband, Chris, planned to rob a drug dealer named Diego Garcia. Therefore, Diego attacked Chris. Riley, who heard the news, was instantly in disbelief, and indeed evidence showed that Chris was not involved in the robbery. But because the rumor had already spread, Diego ended up attacking Chris. Riley, who heard the detective's explanation, kept crying. The doctor stopped the conversation between Riley and Detective Stan. When Detective Stan was about to leave, Riley was ready to be a witness because she knew the faces of the shooters of her husband and daughter. In short, Riley was already at the police station where the perpetrators had been detained. Riley identified the perpetrators by the numbers she remembered. After that, Detective Stan was seen in a park eating his food. Suddenly, he was approached by Detective Moises, who showed a badge belonging to a detective found hanging in the locker of a policeman targeting Diego Garcia. Hearing the news, Detective Stan began to wonder if Diego had an inside man. Then Detective Moises warned Detective Stan to be careful in handling the Diego Garcia case. After that, in a different place, Riley was seen packing her belongings because she was evicted by the landlord. Suddenly, Riley was approached by Henderson, who was an attorney for the opposition. Henderson offered Riley a deal to give up and drop the case because it would all be in vain, and her family could not come back. Hearing Henderson's words made Riley furious, and she immediately kicked Henderson out when he became more insolent by offering some money and mentioning the medication Riley was taking. In short, the day of the trial arrived, where the murder case of Riley's family was won by the defendant. Riley became emotional because she felt that Stephen, the judge, was unfair and ruled in favor of the opponent. After throwing a fit in court, Riley was rendered helpless and carried on a stretcher to the ambulance. When the medical team was about to restrain Riley before putting her into the ambulance, Detective Stan stopped them. Riley used the opportunity to escape by attacking Detective Stan first with an oxygen tank. Then we are taken back to the present, where Detective Stan and Detective Moises are at a crime scene. 3 people were found dead, hanging on a Ferris wheel. These 3 people were members of Diego Garcia's mafia gang suspected of murdering Riley's family some time ago. The case involved the Department of Justice and the FBI, with Agent Lisa Inman investigating it because her name appeared in the case documents. After the bodies were taken down, the detectives could guess who the perpetrator was. Then, in a different place, Riley was preparing her equipment while looking at a photo of her family from the past. It turned out that Riley was going to take revenge on Judge Stevens. We see Riley gagging Judge Stevens, who was the judge in the case of her husband and child's murder. Now Riley is back to seek revenge. After a lengthy conversation, Riley left Judge Stevens' house, leaving him still tied up. After boarding a bus, not long after that, Riley pressed a button that detonated the house and killed Judge Stevens. Meanwhile, FBI agent Lisa was discussing with the detectives and her colleagues. They were discussing Riley's case, which revealed that she was not an ordinary person. Riley had committed many crimes, including robbing a bank and stealing weapons from a store. For the past 5 years, Riley had been training in martial arts and traveling around the world to hide using a fake identity. Riley has now returned to LA 3 months ago to seek revenge precisely on the date her husband and child were killed. Suddenly, Detective Stan receives a phone call informing him that Stevens and Robert Henderson have been brutally murdered. The judge and lawyer from 5 years ago were killed at the same time. The judge was killed by a bomb in his house, while Henderson died in a swimming pool. Then the scene shifts to Diego's headquarters, the drug lord. Diego is informed about the massacre of his men carried out by Riley. Diego orders his men to kill Riley. Riley feels sorry for a little child there. Therefore, Riley attacks the child's father to make him happy, and not just drink and trouble his child. After that, Riley also threatens the shopkeeper not to sell anything to that man. Riley then leaves using the shopkeeper's car after giving him some money. Shortly afterward, Riley arrives at a place suspected to be one of the drug lord's bases. Easily, Riley overpowers the guard outside, then sneaks into the building. Carefully, Riley explores every room inside the base until she reaches the 2nd floor, and finds some of Diego's men working in a room full of money. Eventually, Riley's presence is discovered by Diego's men, and a fight breaks out between Riley and the guards there. After slaughtering all of Diego's men, Riley spares one named Marvin. After hearing all of Marvin's information, Diego is furious. Without hesitation, Diego orders his men to kill Riley before nightfall. In short, that night, Riley is now at the main base or drug-making lab. Riley is very careful walking through the room because she is aware of many traps, including bombs which she already knows about. Swiftly, Riley runs without realizing that Diego's men are watching her from outside, and without hesitation, they detonate the bomb, destroying the lab entirely. Fortunately, Riley survives and exits through the sewage tank. Luck is still on her side because Riley can easily steal a car to chase Diego's men, who believe that Riley has died inside. Unbeknownst to them, Riley is chasing them, and midway, Riley intercepts and attacks Diego's 2 men. Easily, Riley sneaks into Diego's house, which is heavily guarded. And as usual, Riley can defeat all of Diego's men one by one. After slaughtering Diego's men, Riley now faces the drug lord, Diego. Unfortunately, Riley's focus is diverted by a little girl who suddenly approaches them. Diego uses this opportunity to attack Riley and take the girl away. This time, Riley fails to kill Diego because of a stab wound to her abdomen, and the 3 remaining men of Diego could have killed her. In a weakened state, Riley leaves Diego's place and heads to her old friend Peg's house. There, Riley tries to treat the stab wound in her abdomen. When the pain subsides, Riley takes Peg's car and leaves. In a different location, FBI agent Lisa arrives at Riley's hideout, followed by Detective Stan. Shortly afterward, Detective Stan kills FBI agent Lisa, because it turns out that Detective Stan has been working with Diego Garcia's gang all along. Detective Stan then informs Diego Garcia of Riley's hideout. It doesn't take long for Diego and his men to arrive at Riley's hideout to surround her. Diego's men seem endless even though Riley has already slaughtered many of them. Then, to her surprise, Riley finds the body of FBI agent Lisa in a trash can, with her phone still on. Riley uses it to go live and inform the media and police to come to her location. The entire police team, including FBI agents, head to the place Riley mentioned. Meanwhile, Riley is forced to surrender to Diego because the girl she saved is taken hostage by Diego. Riley stalls for time, waiting for the police to arrive, allowing herself to be beaten by Diego. Eventually, the police storm the place, causing chaos, and Diego's men scatter. Detective Stan is shot dead by Diego for betraying him. Detective Stan dies instantly. Meanwhile, Riley chases after Diego, who is trying to escape. Another fight breaks out between them until they are surrounded by the police. Detective Moises asks Riley not to shoot Diego, promising they will handle the case. But Riley does not trust this, and shoots Diego in the head. Riley escapes, and the next day visits the grave of her husband and child, where Detective Moises is also present, and helps Riley, who is weakened by her many injuries. In short, Riley is now in the hospital receiving treatment. Shortly after, Detective Moises comes and gives Riley a lock key to release the handcuffs on her hands because Riley has successfully killed all the criminals, dismantled the biggest drug cartel, and exposed the corrupt police officers. Finally, the film ends. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, because by subscribing you have supported me to make better videos. See you in the next video.